Welcome to another episode of Ball at All Costs. We have a jam-packed show for you today. We have special guests galore today. We have our elite and esteemed panelists. We go again week on week. But before we go any further, can we just ask everybody who's listening to this show right now, please hit that subscribe button, smash the like, hit the notification so we come straight into your inbox. And please leave a comment. And if you listen on the audio feed, a like and a review would be very grateful. Would be very grateful for it. All those subscribing now, we see you. Thank you. All those liking us on the Instagram, we see you. We appreciate you. So keep it coming, keep it going. And we aim to bring you the best guests each week and the best convo each week. So as we always do each week, so I'm just reading the info that's being put in the box. Thank you, OC. Yes, the subscribers are going up. We're nearly at 200. It doesn't sound a lot to you guys, but it's a lot to us. When you start from zero, getting there 200 subscribers on YouTube is a lot. But we aim to get to 500 at least, so please keep on subscribing. Anyway, without further ado, we have a jam-packed show, so let's move it forward. We have two special guests today, Kenzie and Philip Roberts. Howdy, gentlemen.
Hey, you're right. Thanks for having us.
Hi, guys.
You're welcome. And we have our illustrious panel. And as we like to do, as is customary, as Deji says, we go around and we check in on our people each week. And as I haven't seen you, Tom, or spoken to you, Tom, in a while, I'm going to start with you. How are you doing?
Yeah, good, mate. Good. Glad to be back on the show. It's been a good weekend. Dust the boots off me personally, playing again. So, sort of playing that Jan Molby role, really, not an enormous amount of running, but
yeah,
did come on. They were 4-1 down, and we ended up the game at 4-4. So obviously not taking all of the credit, but
sounds like you're taking all of the credit.
Pulling all of the strings, but no. Me aside, it was a good weekend of football. Piers and Jensen had a great weekend, so lots of learning, lots of things to improve. But just playing football with a smile on their face is the most important thing.
Brilliant. And for those listeners too young or too spry to remember who Jan Molby is, I urge you to go and look at him. He never left the centre circle, but he did indeed pull the strings. OC, how you doing?
I'm good. All is well. Do you know what? So I've got 6 siblings. I don't even know how many nieces and nephews I've got, but it seems like everyone conspires to have birthdays within September and October. So it's like every week we're out. It's presents. It's my daughter's turn this weekend, so we were out. So it's busy. It's been a busy couple months, few weeks, and Christmas is soon as well, isn't it? So it never stops. But outside of that, all good. Son's back playing football. He was out for almost a couple of weeks. Played today. The boys nicked a draw. Their first. It's their first point. There's no points, is there? But
no points.
At least they didn't lose anyway. So yeah, a bit of progress for the boys, which was nice to see.
So your parents subscribed to no heating, but did other things to keep warm in the winter, is what I would say to you, OC. And we keep it moving for the younger listeners. Dej, how you doing? I saw you on Monday.
We had a great time on Monday in the live podcast. I thought that was brilliant. And then it was downhill from there, to be honest with you. We had a game today, and to be fair,
Reggie, that was Monday. The game was on Sunday. It could have been downhill from Monday.
Well, maybe it's because I'm still in the moment. Do you know what I mean? I'm still reeling from their second defeat in a row. I should add. Fair play. It was a good game of football, actually. Unlucky not to get something out of the game. Apart from that, I'm okay. I'm actually really delighted to be back on the show, and especially for this one tonight. It's going to be crazy. It's going to be good. How about yourself?
Not bad, thank you. Not bad. The week's been good. It's been busy. Lots going on. Football, lots going on with school, lots going on with work, life. OC, I know what you're feeling. I've got 4 birthdays in 8 days in my household, so it's going to be a lot, and it starts on Thursday. So my parents subscribe to the same thing your parents subscribe to, so I get it. But we keep it moving. Philip, I see you're off mute. Do you prefer Philip or do you prefer Phil?
Probably Phil.
Okay.
Phil. Yeah.
All right. So how are we doing, Phil? How's your week been?
Yeah, really good. It's been a positive week. Yeah, coaching's gone well. Haven't got rained on too much. So yeah, all in all, it's been decent.
Okay, brilliant. And Kenzer, last but not least, how are you doing?
Yeah, all good. All good. Good weekend. Good week. Same as always, jam-packed. Coaching pretty much every day at the minute, so fun. No family time, but yeah, we get through the week.
As long as you're enjoying yourself, that is the main thing, and the kids are enjoying themselves too. So I'm going to hand over to Tom. Tom has a personal relationship with you guys, and Tom's going to set the scene. He's bigged you guys up something chronic, so let's see how he does now, all right? No pressure, Tom.
No pressure. No pressure. I think, look, got to know Kenzer fairly well over the last sort of three plus years. It was sort of born out of a lad that I scouted, and he started his sort of playing career working with Kenzer. And for me, it was quite a refreshing approach, what Kenzer was doing at the time and how that's evolved to now. You know, quite frankly, is game changing in our area. And I say our area sort of around that Chelmsford, Malden, you know, I would say North Essex in terms of where we live. Most boys, in order to get good training and get good, you know, competition, competitiveness, all of those good things, boys from our neck of the woods were having to travel far in order to get that exposure. And I think, you know, what Kenzer and the team that he's built around him is just, you know, really special. I think not only did it sort of, I guess, and they'll tell you how it all kind of born out, but, you know, started from a very sort of good group coaching to sort of where it is now, where they've got kind of multiple teams. They're not just doing grassroots, they're doing, you know, EGA football or JPL, should I say. And quite frankly, you know, the people that they've got there and doing the coaching are sort of, you know, best in class really, and have got great resumes, you know. And we're getting into Phil, and then obviously they've got another coach that's with them as well, Judgy. So for me, I've got nothing but respect for what Kenzer has done, because I think for our area, it's a complete and utter game changer. And also it's sort of bridging the gap between grassroots and academy football. And, you know, Kenzer will tell you, but there's, you know, lots of success that they've had recently getting boys into some of those clubs in our area. So, you know, personally, big respect to him and everything that he's doing. So, yeah, I sort of, I guess, that's the wild intro. Hopefully that gives you a flavour of our kind of relationship. And I guess it could have gone downhill, our relationship, because he did send my managerial career. You know, he was my last game, and he killed the mighty Golds. That was our last cup game. So yeah, he's but we're still friends.
Nice.
As intros goes, that was pretty good, Tom. Well done, mate. So Kenzer, that is some intro there. You want to tell us how it started with your career, first of all, and how you got into coaching, and how you got into the position of killing the mighty Golds in their last game?
Yeah, so to be fair, like, I'm originally from East London. Beckton sort of was where I sort of started football, I guess. I started quite late. I wasn't one of the kids that started at 5, 6, 7, 8. Probably started in year 5, so I would have been 9, about at 10.
9, 10, yeah.
Started playing for my school team, and And to be fair, we had some really good players. I don't know if you guys would know, but like Michael Nagu, Reece Hewitt, Lewis Warren, they're from sort of around East London. I don't know where you guys are based, but all was at academies. I think Nagu went on to play for England under 21s, and it's been all round. And we won the nationals. I was fortunate enough. I was in that team with them playing up a year, but like I said, I just started playing football. But because they was at West Ham, they'd brought the scouts over to come watch us, and within probably from me starting football at 9, 10, by the time I was nearly 11, I was picked up by West Ham. So I probably had about a year playing grassroots, if that.
Wow.
So that was pretty quick. Signed at West Ham at like 10, 11, and then was there pretty much through my whole youth. So scholarship, went through scholarship, got my first year pro there, but obviously that journey along the way was tough. I was all the way from 11 to 12, 13 was fine. I got ill at 14, so I had like a breathing problem at 14. So I was at West Ham and I missed the whole year of football. Had like a problem with my lungs. So then when I come back, I would have been playing to get a scholarship.
Right.
So I'm in what is that, 15 now, I think, 14, 15. So I come back into the season, and I had the academy director at the time said to me, I'd been there a few years now, he said, you've got 3 games to earn your scholarship.
Oh, nice.
Wow.
So these times now I'm thinking, that's when I started feeling them feelings of like, oh, this is a lot, like that anxiety feeling, stress.
And sorry, Kenza, did he say that to you directly, not your parents?
To me. So bear in mind, I've not played for a year and then come back in, was just fit enough, and then got told, listen, you've got 3 games after you've been here for 3 years to basically earn your scholarship. So fortunately I did get my scholarship, but then that second year scholarship was super tough because I'd had such a long time out. So I was injured all year, didn't really play as a first year scholar, got loaned out to Leyton Orient, and then not first team, just to get youth football, that is. By the end of that year, I spoke to, again, the academy director, and he kind of was in a position where he said, look, you've had a year out, Orient want to sign you and offer you a pro. Like, you couldn't officially offer it, but want to. We're kind of pushing you in that direction. And I said, now I look back, maybe I should have done it. But I said to West Ham at the time, no, look, I want to stay. I want to come back in during the season and see what I can do. So I went away, got super fit during the off season, come back as a second year scholar, and sort of smashed all the tests. Because when you come back in, you do all the different tests. And I was a centre back, left back. So I come back and was flying. And then within 6 months of that year, I got offered my pro.
Wow.
So from me being on the verge of coming out of West Ham to then going and get my pro contract there, which was good. We had a very strong team as well. We lost to Chelsea in the FA Youth Cup that year. They went on to win it, and we should have beat them. But I'd say that age group we had was spoke about as one of the best age groups, probably along with Phil's team, Arsenal, in the country. Like we didn't lose. At the time, obviously, West Ham being where it was, everyone wanted to come play at West Ham, and not a problem, but the situation we was in at the time, Allardyce was gaffer. So realistically, how many youngsters are going to get them opportunities? I got my pro. I need to be mindful what I say now. Got my pro, and due to situations with agents and agents within the club, being mindful. So due to situations within the club, and I didn't accept something that maybe I should have. Within 6 months, I was paid out my contract after I'd been there sort of 11 years. To be fair, going from signing my pro that year, I think. So we talk about the highs and the lows. That year, I signed my pro, and I'd just been selected to carry the torch in the London 2012 Olympics.
Wow.
So you go from that sort of pinnacle of I've just signed my pro, I'm training with the first team, playing pre-season games with the first team. You've got your foot in the door, I've just done that, carried the torch, everything's up here. And then from one conversation of me not knowing the politics of football and my dad not knowing the politics of football, it went from that to straight away 6 months, like by Christmas, I was paid out my contract, didn't have a club. Due to what had happened here, couldn't get a trial at any Premier League or Championship club because of what had happened here. So then I had to go all the way down to Oxford in League Two. So I went from training with the first team, being in and around it at West Ham. Don't get me wrong, by the way, I was good, but there was players at West Ham that were unbelievable. Like I was sort of middle of the pack. I think I could have climbed that ladder, but obviously never really got that opportunity to because of what had happened. And then I had to go all the way to Oxford. So I did my agent got me trials elsewhere. But like I say, because of the politics that happened here, I couldn't actually go on trial anywhere within I couldn't get a Premier League club or a Championship club. So I had to go to League Two. Went to Oxford and was travelling from London to Oxford every day. So it was long. They offered me accommodation down there, but I don't know, I was a London boy, so I just couldn't stay down there. I just couldn't quite click down there with the people down there. So traveling every day, sometimes 3 hours there, 3 hours back. It was quite long. But then what happened? Quite a well-known manager at the time, and it's still now, to be fair. I was playing there during pre-season, doing really well. Sort of that was my idea. Okay, if I go here, play first team, I can climb back up. Pre-season come in, must have been a 7v7 game. Flicked the ball over the striker's head, got it around the other side. Didn't think nothing of it. Played out from the back, and then at the end of that session, I got told by that gaffer at the time that if I ever do that again, he's gonna punch me in my face.
Wow.
So yeah, quite intense. And then, but at the time I thought he was joking. Like I said, I'm new to the club, kind of thinking, what's the crack here? Maybe a few of them laughed and that. And then I realised quite soon that it wasn't a joke. And I got asked, where am I from? East London. And I got told I think I'm tough because I'm from East London. So I'd been through a lot of West Ham. So at that time, it's sort of, I took so much, been through so much. And I was thinking, no disrespect to Oxford at the time, they're League Two, but I was just kind of like, what is this? Yeah. But which went, an argument happened. And then I was pretty much in the reserves for the rest of the season. I was in the reserves for the rest of the season. And then at the end of that year, that manager got sacked and I got offered another year, and I just turned it down. I was done with football. Got offered a second year. I just had my daughter, and I was just kind of like, I've just done 12 years of football, and I was just thinking it's not worth anything. So I come out of Oxford, had a year out, and then started playing non-league. Played Conference South for a couple of seasons. But
Kenzer, sorry mate, can I just stop you there a second? And the reason I want to stop you there is because I think you just shared with us 12 years in a whirlwind of your youth career. And we're going to move on to the conference, we're going to move on to the coaching, and we're going to get on to Phil. But I don't know if you've seen many of our episodes, but we like to be informative. We like to give parents, especially of who are trying to get their children signed and balling at all costs, literally. We need to give them some of the information. And I think your journey just there, literally, the fact you got to about 20, second year pro, and you decided to walk away because of stuff that happened at your current club and your previous club, more so, that scarred you. Can you talk to us through kind of some of your feelings throughout that period, especially at West Ham when you're really a young kid, you're a young man, and these things are happening to you?
It's tough because I think you learn so much and you do grow up super quick as well. I'll be honest, like the environments you're in, the pressure you'll get put under, the expectation. People don't realize, parents don't realize, every time your kid goes to a training session, you've got 100 eyeballs on them, watching them at academies. Every game they play, there's 10 scouts. Now, I went over to West Ham, went over to Ipswich last week at Crystal Palace, and I'm looking, it's even worse, like, not, I won't say worse. When I go into these academies now, I'm looking around and there's 10 scouts on the sidelines watching these kids play, and they're 8-9 years of age, and there's 5 coaches per age group, and it's just so intense. I think parents, sometimes they forget why their kids playing football, and it becomes super intense, and it becomes more of the parent pushing than the player pushing, I suppose. And I suppose you probably get that a lot from loads of people saying it. I hear parents say it, but sometimes I hear parents say that, oh, I don't push my kid, yet their kid's doing 7 sessions a week.
Yeah.
And look, there's no right or wrong. Every kid's different. Using Frankie as a perfect example, he's got into this one young lad that's who Tom mentioned earlier. He's got into an academy system and he's thriving. He's flying. He's smashed. He's doing really well. He's ready for it.
Yeah.
So going into that environment, he's thriving off that. He's growing from that. I've seen a lot of kids go into the environment, being great little players, and they come out the shell of what they was because they wasn't ready for it. And that pressure, that intensity, it takes the love away from the game. So I think, like, for me, there's no, like, people always talk about ages, what age you should put a kid into an academy and what's the right age and what's the wrong age. I don't think there is a right answer. I think it's completely dependent on the kid and what the kid can sort of handle, depending on these maturity levels at different ages. Some kids are ready at 9, some kids are ready at 12, some kids are ready at 15. I know it gets harder as they get older, but every kid is different. And I think that's probably the answer I'd say when people put that question out there. Is it too young to be in an academy at 7, 8, 9, 10, whatever? But yeah, I think the environment's tough. But yeah, I suppose that's all I can sort of say on that, unless there's anything else for me to speak.
Yeah, I wanted to ask one question, Kenzer, and thank you for sharing, and also thank you for being real. I think that one of the difficulties for me is that in my personal life and in my business life, I like to be authentic. I like to be myself. I don't really like being in environments where I don't feel I can be that. But in this football space, in this football game, I do feel like you can't be yourself. You know, you just talked about speaking up. You probably made the right decision at the time, but that decision had certain consequences which shouldn't really be allowed to happen, and it's not fair. And I guess the question that I wanted to kind of throw out to you is that too often I'm meeting parents, I'm seeing parents, and I met a friend of mine used to play for Jamaica and international, you know, out there with Messi. And I find it so strange that he's so relaxed with his children when it comes to kicking ball. Because for me and for the people around me, we just, it's ball at all costs, isn't it? You've got to train, you've got to get it right. I've had 5 parents message me and say, look, your lad was really good today. Yeah, I was so quick to tell him off that I've had to apologize to him. Do you know what I'm saying? And, you know, just hearing the realities of the game, I feel like if you could just talk about that and feel free to jump in.
Yeah, I don't think
we think about it. We're sending them into the pit, aren't we? I think
you just mentioning about your son there. I've said this to a few parents, and it's something I look back on with my dad. Realistically, just being honest, how many kids are going to make it pro? Any of your kids, any other kids? We know the percentage is small. So do you really want to have that sort of situation with your son when you're going at each other's necks for the next 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years, where the relationship's fractured because you've pushed him and pushed him and pushed him? I always speak about when I look back on all my experiences going abroad, going on tour, doing all these things, like I think been around half the world just through being with West Ham. I don't think about the stadiums or the teams, like, not chucking things out, but like the Inter Milans and all these teams you play. It's more so the journeys with my dad. So like being a part of that, being with me, they're the memories I remember. And I feel like a lot of parents, they put so much pressure on their kids. Like when you get in the car with your son, what's the first thing you think? Are you critiquing him straight away? Because for me, that's the coach's job. I don't know, obviously you might be a coach as well, but it's tough. To be a dad and to be a coach, it's tough. It's not easy. And I always had a relationship with my dad. I'd get in the car with him, and he kind of was like, he'd ask me, would speak about the game, but it was a calm conversation. It wasn't, why are you doing this? Why aren't you doing that? And I didn't get. I know a lot of people do, and I know a lot of players do, but I never got in the dread in that journey home. Whereas I look at a lot of parents now and a lot of kids, they get in the car stressing about what their parents are going to say, not about what I just said.
Yeah.
So I think enjoy the journey. I think that's important as a parent, a dad, a mum, whoever it is. You need to enjoy that journey with your child. I think it's massive. It's massive. You're going to have a relationship for, like I say, for a small percentage of a chance you're gonna that your son's going to be a professional football player. Don't get me wrong, you do have to push them, of course, to a degree, and they need to want to push, but it's a fine line. I think you have to be very careful with that. And you mentioned about football being fair. Me and Phil always talk about this. It's not fair. Let's be honest, it's not. You go and do a career, go university, go college, get your degree, go and get your job, go get your salaries, get your promotions. Great, you're set for life. Football's not fair. You could work 12 years. Look what happened to me. You put all your effort in, you put your time in, you sacrifice. At the end of the day, you get experience. But what I mean is there's no guarantee on anything. You're putting your career on, you're putting yourself out there for an opinion at the end of the day. So whether you, like I say, you could put 10, 12 years into something, then at the end of it, yeah, great, you've got a job, you've got a career. But I remember when I come out of West Ham, all my mates had degrees and was getting jobs. I was getting money at 17, 16, 17, 18. By the time I was 20, I was jobless. 21, I was jobless. And they all had their careers and their paths they were set on. So you kind of look and you're going, whoa, it's tough. So yeah, it's not fair. But that's the industry, I think.
Phil, did you want to come in as well? Thank you, Kenzo, because I could see there was a couple of times you wanted to come in. But yeah, it'd be good to just hear your thoughts on that as well.
I think when it comes to professional football, I'm big on, I don't think it's fair and I don't think it should be fair. I think there's a reason, kind of what Kenza says, if you want to be a doctor, there is a path that you can guarantee that you're going to be a doctor. I think that football has a level of unfairness to it to a certain degree. I do think if you're a striker and you score 100 goals, no one's going to say anything to you. But then when we're talking about kind of putting pressure on children, I think there's a realism that they have to have, that I always say that your first job is to be the best player in your team. Your second job is to be the best player in your league. The next job is to be the best in the county, then the country, and then internationally, one of the best players in the world. That's what we're selecting out for. I think the success, when it comes to the end goal being a professional footballer, is tough, because I think in most professions, if you are in the top 30% of what you do, you'll have a good life and career. In football, you're going to have to be in that top 0.001% to be a professional footballer. So people say, when we were growing up, people would often say to me like, oh, but don't you think so-and-so is good? And I would say like, good's not enough. You have to be the best at what you do. So there is that fine line of where do you add the pressure, but I also do think you're trying to do something that every not just boys now, every young person near enough in our country, across the whole of Europe, Africa, now want to do. That's the competition you're in. You're probably not in that competition for lots of other jobs. So it's tough. It is tough.
Yeah, I agree. And, on that note as well, sorry, Andrew, I was just thinking, should we quickly, Bill, as well, just get a brief of who you are and your experience, and then we'll have our plethora of questions for both of you.
I was a late bloomer. I didn't want to be a professional footballer until I was probably about 12 years old. So like there was never any, when we're talking about that pressure, there was never any pressure externally from like mum and dad, or my cousin was very good at football, but I didn't really I just enjoyed playing football. I enjoyed lots of things. I enjoyed drama. I enjoyed lots of things growing up. It's only probably when I went into secondary school, and so I grew up playing for like Lakeview and Colebrook in the Echo, and had a great time doing that. Kenza will probably laugh. The time that I wanted to be a professional footballer is I went to the Essex County trials, and I thought that I was just as good as Kenza and those boys, but they all had tracksuits on, and it really annoyed me. It really annoyed me because I felt like the people that were running the county trials just saw, West Ham tracksuit, he's in.
Yeah.
Norwich tracksuit, he's in. Colchester tracksuit, he's in. Yep. And it really wound me up. So I almost made it my mission after that by that time next year, I'd be in an academy. So almost saw that psychological side of it. I didn't really want to be a footballer until I thought someone else was better than me, which really kind of flicked a light switch in my head at probably 11, 12. I then got scouted for Norwich. I went on trial everywhere, at Charlton, at Millwall, went up to Liverpool for a week, got told no. So handled a lot of rejection at 11, and I wasn't ready. Looking back on it, I wasn't ready at all. But a guy at Norwich really believed in me, and went to Norwich, loved it there. My first real time of seeing that business of football, so seeing the professional side of it. I was quite big personality, having to kind of meld that from not having a parent as a coach and also having the academy director, this person, kind of, like you said, being authentic, but also being professional. It took me a long time to learn that balance between the two. And then started playing for the Republic of Ireland whilst at Norwich. And the way I got to Arsenal was my first game for Republic of Ireland. Everyone was coming to watch the Czech Republic centre-back, every scout in the country. And just by chance, the front three, we absolutely torched him that day. And I went to Arsenal. The right winger went to Tottenham after that, and the left winger went to Aston Villa. So everyone got moves off of that. But that's also that kind of unfairness. But it worked in my favour. And then went to Arsenal. Struggled a bit at Arsenal psychologically, from being a big fish in a small pond to everyone here. I always say it's alphas on alphas. Everyone thinks they're the best player they've ever seen at Arsenal. And I think it's good because it builds you up. But I did struggle with, looking back on it, I don't think I knew that I was struggling at the time, but I did definitely struggle with the psychological pressure of, and I'm an Arsenal fan, of being at Arsenal. And then went on loan to Inverness, played in Scotland for a few years, playing for Inverness, played for Dundee, and played for Falkirk. But I would say there were certain cultural challenges I faced, and I probably wasn't well-rounded enough at the ages of 19, 20 and 21 to find that balance between being authentic and also kind of what Kenza speaks about struggling to, if a manager tells me I'm just going to run channels the entire game and I've come from Arsenal where we're popping the ball about, I kind of thought, well, you's lot are wrong, I'm going to do what I want. And that didn't age well. So that's my kind of journey in a nutshell.
Okay. Well,
Thank you. Wow.
Thank you for sharing it as well, Phil. I mean, we're going to dig deeper into it. We're going to dig deeper into, I guess, Kenza, your non-league career as well. But I know OC had a question, and I think Tom was trying to jump in earlier. So you want to go for it, OC?
Tom, you jump in.
I mean, for me, guys, which is an interesting one, is that obviously both of you challenged the system in different ways. Yeah. Do you think that, one, do you regret challenging that? And And the second part to that is, do you think if you challenged it in the same way now, there would be a better outcome? Because in my opinion, like one of the big things, and I kind of speak to, I think I spoke to Deji about this, is I'm continually like challenging the system. Like, I think it, because, that's the only way I can be. Because in my line of work, you can only be honest and upfront, and you can't hide behind, what you really feel. You ultimately have to be true to who you are, and if you've got something on your chest, then you want to get it out. And I think sometimes, in the football arena, people are just scared to be honest, and they're scared about being open, and that might be vulnerable. That might be the fact that you might not necessarily agree with something, but that's in a long-winded way. Obviously, you kind of did challenge it. Do you think the challenging would be more, willingness now, or do you think you'd still come with the same outcome?
Phil, I'll let you go first.
Kenza knows what my answer to this question is. I 100% don't regret at all being authentic to who I was. To answer the first question, so I understand the question. I've asked myself that question loads of times. What I see it as, I value authenticity near enough above everything. To your point, even my football career. So I have to reconcile that with myself, that I could have nodded my head 100%. I thought, just nod your head here, you'll be fine. Maybe you'll play another year. But then I also think that that wouldn't have been me. That wasn't who I was. That wasn't where I was at. In terms of, I understand the question, the support that one would receive now as opposed to 15 years ago. We would see these things as, like Kenzer and I speak about it, the four-corner model of being socially, psychologically, technically, tactically, and physically. When we were coming through, it was all about technical, tactical, and physical. Whereas now there's a lot more social work done and psych work done with players. But I do think the institutions, unless you've got a top to bottom revolutionary institution where you've got the academy lead, the first team manager, the director of football all on board with supporting players individually, which a lot of people say, but what they really mean is, I want to win on a Saturday at all costs, and to hell with their personal lives or anything they might have going on. I think you'd have to go club by club, because I know there are some clubs that are very, very good at managing the extracurricular stuff, not just the football stuff.
Thank you. Kenza, you're up.
No, sorry, yeah. No, opposite to Phil, really. When I was at West Ham, I feel like I wasn't my authentic self. I feel like I went within myself, didn't say that I wanted to be a professional football player. So coach says do this, I'm doing it. Like, if that's what I need to do, I'm going to do it. He says jump, I say how high. Do you know what I mean? So I went through that at West Ham, kind of just doing what I was told. And that's why I look at academies now, I'm like, I don't want these kids to be robots, because I felt like I was made into that. I felt like I was made into this kid that, I was, for example, when I was playing, I was a centre midfielder. West Ham made me into a centre-back because I was left-footed, I was tall, and I was decent on the ball. I become a centre-back. Did I enjoy it? No. But did I complain? No, I'm a West Ham fan. My family's from West Ham fans, so we just done the job. Like, I got on with it. I got done what I was told. And then I felt like that's why I sort of was so frustrated, because there was so many times I should have spoke up, didn't. And then obviously West Ham ended the way it did. And that's when I probably at Oxford maybe went too far. Because I took so much for so long at West Ham. When I went to Oxford, then I probably, so much was sort of pent up. It only took one thing to just make me blow. So yeah, somewhere in between, I think would have been good for me looking back. But again, like what Phil said, when I was at West Ham, I'm in the change room at 16, 17 with Portuguese internationals, England internationals, Spanish internationals, Scottish, Irish internationals. Everyone's the best from where they're from. So like, you're in that change room with 16 other boys. You can imagine how savage it is. Like, it's sink or swim, because the egos, the testosterone, like, everyone's the best from where they're from. So you're sticking them all in the change room and then you're leaving them alone. So like, when you go in your scholarship, you're there every day, or when you go pro as well. But you're there every day. You go train in the morning, then you're left to have your lunch. You're in the changing rooms, everyone chilling together, sort of unsupervised to a degree. So you can imagine like the stuff that would go on. So yes, it's an intense environment, and yeah, like I say, I think I should have spoke up more with coaches and maybe said more. But it's in hindsight, it's a good thing, isn't it?
OC.
Yeah, go on. Listen, interesting conversation. That's what I love about it. You just got guys coming on. They've got a rich experience and just laying it down sort of as it is, just to help the parents along. So yeah, I appreciate it. What I was going to ask is, there's a picture that parents have. Yeah, you get signed at under 9, Tottenham, West Ham, Arsenal, whatever it is, and your kids going into the team. They're going to be Bukayo Saka, or they're just going to go through all the way. And what this question is around, so as you're starting the youth development phase, like under 9s, and then you go through to, that's the foundation phase, youth development phase under 12. What advice could you give parents in terms of how they're managing their kids to maybe perhaps give less control to the academies? And what else should they be focusing on aside from the group sessions, the one-to-ones, the S&Cs? Because you guys have got great experience, but I'm sure you know hundreds of other guys that have been through the system, and it's been very up and down. And I'm just coming back to the point that you made about that decision with Leighton Orient. You said that perhaps you should have taken that decision, that choice to sign with them, but you stayed at West Ham. And just a bit of advice for parents: how best to navigate that journey so their kids can sort of stay authentic, but also try and enjoy the journey.
Ooh, yeah. Again, I think every kid's different. Like we said, every kid's journey is going to be different, and it depends on what that kid can. Or when I look at an academy at 12s, Tom, you may have an opinion on this, and I think it's the same as far as I'm aware. You know if your kid's in the top 3, in my opinion, unless you don't know. I feel like in academies, they have their top 3 or 4 players. The team is built around them players. That's my opinion, and that's what it was when I was there. So, and I still think it is probably reasonably similar. As you go through that phase, 12s, 13s, 14s, 15s, 16s, I think if you're not in that 3 or 4 that they are pushing, I think you've got to be mindful of that as a parent. Very mindful of it, because the team, like I say, is built around them players. And say you're on sort of you're gripping on, you know, your kid's maybe looking like he might not be quite at that level. What other options are you looking at? Does he still enjoy it? Is he a Cat 1 player? Is he a Cat 2 player? It's tough. I think again, like I say, each parent, it's hard because academies don't. Again, I don't know what they're like now. I've not been in an academy for a while, but I don't think a lot of parents know too much. Academies don't really talk too much to their parents, so they kind of, sometimes it can be a shock. A kid was doing really well, and all of a sudden within 2 years he's not there anymore, and how that affects him. But I just feel like overall, if it was me with my son and he's 12 in the academy, I'm just going back to the stage. Is he enjoying it? Is he working hard? Is he enjoying working hard? Is my relationship with him solid? And is he happy? Like, if he is, he's going to progress, he's going to develop, and he'll do well regardless. No matter how many S&C sessions you do with him, how much, yes, extra training is going to help. But at the end of the day, if he's good enough, he will be good enough with obviously the extra bits you're doing. But I feel like the cream will always rise. And if your son's at the level, as he goes through the age groups, you'll see where he's at and you'll see how far he can go within that, as long as he's got the right people around him. But Phil, I don't know if you want to come on the back of that.
Yeah, I sit on, not on a different side of the fence. I'm big on making sure that you see your child as your child first, and football is something they do. Not that they're a footballer. My son's a footballer, or my daughter's a footballer. Like, if you wrap your identity up in football from a young age, I think that's where the biggest drop off is. I think it was the hardest bit about football that I've ever faced was going from Robert's 9 on the back of my shirt to actually who Philip is, and discovering who I was. I only started doing that at age 26. I wish that I would have started developing my knowledge of self from the ages of 12 and 13, because your personality trait cannot be, I'm a footballer. And I think a lot of kids that want to be involved in football, the only way they judge themselves is through football. You're a son or a daughter, you're a friend, you're a teammate, you're a cousin to someone, you're someone's grandchild. So I think I try and get children to understand that football is so small compared to what real life is, and it's quite hard when that's all you want to do. But I do think when we go back to those percentages, I think the only thing that made football worth it was that I made it. It's the only thing that made it worth it. Because if I hadn't have made it, none of it would have been worth it, is how I see it. And I think that's wrong, because I put all my eggs in. I sacrificed friendships, I sacrificed a lot that the only reason I say it was worth it is because I made it. I know boys that were as good and better than me that haven't made it, and they would probably say it wasn't worth it.
I think that's big. We just said the personality and who you are as well. Because when I come out of full-time football, it was from where I was from, like my area was Kenzer the footballer. Mm-hmm. So no one knew me as anything else apart from, that's Kenzie, he plays for West Ham. So then when that wasn't the case and I come out, it was kind of like your bubbles burst and you're in a situation where you look around, you're going, who am I? What am I? I don't want to go in my social circles. I don't want to go in them circles, because the first question is going to be, how's football? What's going on with football? And these type of conversations. So I think what Phil just said there is massive in terms of football saying you do, it's not who you are. And I think letting the kids know that from a young age is massive, because you're actually setting them up to fail otherwise.
Wow. Guys, sorry, this is great knowledge, and I'm happy you guys are being so honest and speaking from the heart. I think this is really going to help parents and boys and girls. I think this is our most hard-hitting episode we've had, and I mean that in a positive way, because I think you've touching on a lot of mental health issues, circumstances here, and I think it's very, very important. Phil, you touched on the tracksuit. That is massive in the sense, the essence of the simplicity of the word in there, the tracksuit. That motivated you to another level. You had it in you. That crushes other people. You touched on unfairness. That's unfair from the district. It's a selection process. I get it. That's already been done. But there's a trial. The trial's there for a reason. Have a look. Look at the boys without the tracksuit, in addition to the boys with the tracksuit. Things like that. And there's so many things we've touched on here, and I think it's amazing. And I think your points on being who you are, not losing who you are because of the selection process in academies, it is such a slim chance. And I think parents have to understand that they're going for the journey, and the journey doesn't probably end in your son signing a pro contract and playing pro football for 15, 20 years. I think that's very key as you navigate this journey. So, and if that is key, and if that is at the forefront, you then help yourself and your children make the best decisions for them. Like you said, if you're not in the top 3 and you're looking at scholarship time and maybe you're hanging on, maybe take a move elsewhere, maybe have a look, to OC's point, his question, to what you were saying, Kenza, maybe take a look elsewhere. Maybe look at a Cat 2 if you're at a Cat 1. Maybe look at a club that relies on its youth team to promote to the first team. These are things us as parents can do. And I think we are in the age of entrepreneurship, taking control. We can lead, we can say no, we can kind of guide our children in a better way. Now, with all this knowledge, these podcasts should help, and that's what we're hoping for. So we're getting this information out there. I've gone on my rant. I just needed to get off my chest because there was a lot being shared, and I think it's great information. So Kenza, as we move it forward, you fell out of love of football. You got back into football, I understand. You're playing in the conference. You want to just talk us through that and then how that led you to coaching and where you are now? And
so
with Phil again.
Yeah, so I got back into football, started playing Conference South, played there a couple seasons. But yeah, non-league football, it's different, and it weren't something I really enjoyed. I'd done it because my old coach at West Ham went into a Conference South team. He asked me to come play, so I went and played. Done that a couple seasons, and again, I was kind of, to be fair, the first year I'd done really well, and I had teams looking to go back into the league. But again, for me, I had my daughter, and I could play non-league football, have another job, earn good money, or go into League Two football, be there Monday to Sunday, and then just being honest, the money's not the best in League Two football. You've got semi-professional players earning more money now. That's just the money in non-league at the minute. So yeah, I stayed there a couple seasons, and then I just kind of was getting fed up with it. I wasn't taking it too serious, and then I was going to stop playing again. And one of my friends was at Hornchurch, and his dad was there, Jimmy McFarlane, to give him a shout out. He's not managing anymore, but after I've been through all these academy setups and all these different managers, from Premier League managers, top level managers, and I had a non-league manager with Jimmy McFarlane, and he brought that love for the game back. I went all the way down to Ryman North just to think about, and him being my manager. And now as a coach, like he weren't a coach, he was a manager, if that makes sense. And playing for him, he made you want to play for him, and I enjoyed football again. I stayed there for a couple of years. We got promoted. We done really well. Got promoted up to the Prem, and then again he then come out for health reasons, and new manager come in. And I think Phil touched on this as well, but I think when you've been at a certain level, and this is not ego or anything like that, but when you've been at a certain level and you've been around football for so long, I found it hard when I went into non-league and I had a manager come in, and sort of the way he would communicate to, like me, I've got children, I'm a grown man, and I've got a non-league manager part-time screaming, shouting and saying all sorts of stuff. I found that difficult in non-league football, and that was probably one of the reasons why I in and out of it. But to be fair, when I got to 26, I had to completely stop regardless. I had a hip issue where they said if I continued to play, I'd have had to have a hip operation. So at 26, I completely packed it in. And that was obviously, I was coaching a bit before then, but I started to delve into coaching a lot more then. But I won't go into that side of it yet, if you want Phil to go through his non-league stuff first.
Before Phil does, I think, Deji, did you have a question? Because he's got to go shortly.
Yeah, I had a question, and I just wanted to say thank you to both of you. I honestly find this one of the most enlightening podcasts, because for me, I always ask the question, is it really ball at all costs? And when I'm with some parents, truly for them, it's do or die, it's get rich or die trying. And I always say to myself, I'm not sure if it is that deep. You know, some of it I do think is out of the kids' hands, you know. But I guess from the question I really wanted to ask in terms of your grassroots, and maybe you can answer this later on, is, you know, what sort of philosophy, what sort of things are you kind of embedding? Because I love the fact that you guys are authentic. I believe I want my son to be authentic. I'm trying not to come to follow the system too tough. My son is short but technical. I'm being told he's got to be big, black and strong. I'm finding that very difficult because I'm thinking he's a baller, yet there are lesser players technically that are populating our academy system. I just want to say, what side of the fence do you both sit on? Good question.
I'll do the philosophy bit. Our philosophy, I think it can at balance where we coach, is great footballers, better human beings. So we want the children to be better human beings than they are footballers. So yes, we're a coaching company. Football is at the center of what we do. However, the players that I know now in this current setup that have gone on to really do big things have been so much. When I look back, we're so much more grounded, we're so much more disciplined, we're able to take information on, had smaller egos, would pick bottles up after training that weren't theirs, would go and collect cones after training. So they had, we call them transferable skills. I often say that my life is easy now because of professional football. Because of that crucible of having to be so disciplined, to be judged all the time, for there to be such finality. I might miss a shot at the back post and not play for the rest of the season. There is a finality to that in, we call it real life. You don't have that. You can have a bad day. You can have a bad month in some jobs and make up for it the next 11 months. So I think our philosophy is wanting to make great football players, but across all four. We judge every single one of our players across four spectrums, and those are their technical and tactical, their physical side, their social side, and their psychological side. And for us, if I would rather have a player that scores 7 out of 10 across those four than be a 9 out of 10 technical and tactical, a 9 out of 10 in the physical, and 1 out of 10 psychologically and socially. Because for me, it's that those transferable skills are going to follow you. Everyone has to retire. Whether Rio Ferdinand has to retire and he's had 20 years in the Premiership. So you are going to have to, at some point, come to grips with who you are as a human being. And we think that goes hand in hand with wanting to be a great footballer.
I think the psychological aspect of it was probably one of the main reasons we started Balanced as well. Like when I'd done my UEFA B, I remember doing the course and they had to speak about your coaching philosophy and they had to go through slides and presentations on how you'd coach and football and shape and positions. And I just didn't really do any of that. My whole slideshow was based on the psychological aspect of the game and what it means. And because people always talk about what's the most important. Of course, you've got to be technically good and tactically good, but at 16, 17, 18, I would like to think most academy players are. The difference is that psychological aspect. That's everything for me. Like, I've seen players that have been out of this world, but they just couldn't do it at 18, 19 because of that psychological aspect, the barriers or the hiccups that come up in their career or the situations that happen with injuries or whatever it be. So for me, like, we talk about football in every aspect. The psychological pillar is the most important. Like, that's just for me personally, but that's obviously Balanced and Phil, because that's why we've done this. I started this and I spoke to Phil, and Phil ain't even mentioned, but he's got a degree in sports psychology. And
sorry, Phil doesn't have to mention that. It's coming through.
Yeah, exactly. So I think, like, for us, that is massive. But yeah, no. And what was the other bit of the question we said was going to hit?
What was your bundle, Deji?
Yes. No. I just wanted to know the philosophy, and it was about the profiling within the systems and whether you.
I think every academy. Well, I don't know. I think a lot of academies are different. But I personally, I done my ID level 2 ID the other week, and I can tell you for sure that profiling is massive. Yeah, I think you're right, Dej. They do. Most academies want players that they have the idea. Can they use this term? Can they cover the pitch? Are they athletic? Can they cover ground? we can make them good at football. Do you know what I mean? And it's a case of, if you've got a kid that can cover ground and can move around the pitch well, especially at the younger ages, I think they're going to have much more of an opportunity, especially in England, to get signed by an academy than, say, your son, who's technically very good, but is not the tallest or has the profile, I guess. Unfortunately, I do think, don't get me wrong, they will sign players that are smaller and technical, of course, but I do think it depends on the academy's philosophy, or the club's philosophy, and what they want and the type of players they're looking for. I would think most London-based clubs have the profiling of quick, strong, athletic, and can they cover the pitch well?
I do think, sometimes I also think, I can't remember who said it about getting signed at under 8s. I think a lot of people think, oh, I've been signed by Arsenal at under 8s. That means I'm going to be there when I'm under 18. Like, you could easily be there. I think we put a lot of stock. We call it a race to 18. So everyone is in a race to 18. Where are you in that race? If you're in an academy, you're winning right now, this second. But it is a race to 18. I've seen, oh, he's going to be the next whoever. And then a couple of years later, we've never heard of that player again. So I do think that the profiling, I think, is more prevalent from like under 8s through to like under 12s. I do think, I say everyone's going to be within 4 inches of each other once they're 16. Everybody, I say I'm fast. I think I'm fast. But how much faster than the slowest player that's a professional am I? Probably 2 miles per hour faster. So it's like, I think we overdo these terms of like, he's fast, he's slow, he's big, he's small. If you're 6'4", I'm still 5'11". It's not like, yeah, I think it means more when they're younger, because they develop a lot quicker, especially if you're a Q1 or a Q4, or you're just naturally not going to be 6'4". So I do think it's a race to 18. And if you keep that in mind, we keep plugging away, because it's not a race to who can get signed first, which I think a lot of parents are in a race to, can I get signed at under 11s? You're minimally closer to being a professional footballer, like, than if you're not in an academy, but you're still enjoying the game and loving the game and getting better every day.
Phil, it's that tracksuit. That tracksuit at under 9 does mad things to Terry's rationale. Like, literally, it does. Tom knows what. When you coach and when you manage, it's just the most bizarre and random actions. You guys know it. You see it. You coach. But that's what I would say. That tracksuit and that badge, it does a lot. It does a lot. But let's talk about balance, guys. Let's talk about how balance was formed. Obviously, we've got kind of the philosophy behind it. But how did it actually start?
Yeah. It started with, so when I come out of football where I couldn't play, I started coaching, sort of bouncing between different places, coaching, went into West Ham. And I was in a situation where it felt like I was going to relive my playing situation, where I didn't have control of what I wanted to do. I couldn't be authentic. I couldn't put in place what I wanted. So I sort of stepped away from that, and I wanted to start a coaching program. I wouldn't call it a academy. I wouldn't call it a development center. It's a program. It's a program we put together. So the idea come about, started the program, and then funny enough, it was by coincidence. Obviously, me and Phil had gone through the youth stages, playing against each other quite frequently. So we knew each other, and I would say we probably was in similar circles, but I wouldn't say we was close mates at the time. We knew each other through football. So it just happened through social media. We started speaking, and then it was a phone call. I rang Phil. I said, "Look, Phil, this is the idea I've got. This is what I want to start. I want you to come on board." And then within a couple of days, he come and met me. We had a conversation, and within 2 weeks, we had our first trial day. So it started quick. The idea behind it was, yes, we're coaching kids. We wanted to bring coaches in that have got experience within the game. So myself, Phil, mentor the kids which was massive. That's what we talk about, a psychological pillar. So we do mentoring sessions with the kids once a month, as well as sort of the older ones get an opportunity to do S&C as well. But yeah, so the conversation started with me and Phil. We started Balanced. It come around really quick, and eventually, as it started to grow, so we started with 4 teams. So we had 9s, 10s, 11s, 12s, and then Phil took 2, I took 2, and we had some sort of assistants helping us out. It went well, and then how long has it been now, Phil? 18 months?
Yeah.
Maybe a bit over it, maybe. And now we've got from 7s all the way up to under 13s. Our 7s and 8s are sort of like a games program. So they play for their grassroots on a Sunday, and then we sort them out a game once or twice a month, but they train with us. And then we've got 9s, 10s, 11s, 12s, 13s. So yeah, like I say, it's not, and we have set teams. We have started doing extra coaching now, sort of outside of that, because of sort of the demand, people wanted it. But sort of the core of it was we have a set team. So for example, our 9s, we have 10 players. Our under 12s, they play 9-a-side. We have 12 players. 10 players for under 9s, 12 players for under 12s. And we have that close-knit group, and we work with them the whole year. So yeah, and then Alan come on board as well, another ex-player with a different experience, different story. So these kids are around sort of helping them along the way, not just in football but at school or in other situations. We've supported them in many different situations. And to be fair, I didn't mention, but Tom mentioned, I think a big thing was, what I realised was all these kids were going into London to get this coaching or to get this level of opposition. So yeah, we started around Haybridge, Morden way, chucked him in the Echo League, and they done well. Like Tom said, not Ricky goals out. So yeah, Phil, I don't know if there's any more you would add on to that. There's obviously, we can go through more, but I'm just thinking, well,
I'd say Kenzer and I have similar journeys of not wanting to get almost straight back into the rat race, back with the academy coaching, probably because I would say there was a lot of healing that took place after I finished professional football. It's not a PTSD, that would be too strong a word, but there was a level of I wasn't, and I don't think, wouldn't say weren't ready, but we wanted to do something new and fresh, and I didn't know what that was, to be honest with you. And when Kenza called me and told me what his plan was, it was almost that freshness of having the autonomy to say, this is what we are, this is what we stand for, without having to almost be pulled by a institution or a club's philosophy, which is going to happen within the academy, and it should happen because they know more than us. The institution is bigger and it's been there for hundreds of years. But I didn't want to do that, and the autonomy that we have to be able to implement stuff, like kind of go above and beyond. We've had charity matches for some of the parents if they're struggling with their health, and we're able to have like family fun days and go bowling and stuff like that. We have almost like an autonomy to kind of do what we want to, not what we want, what we think is best for the kids, almost without having a lot of the red tape there that academies may have.
I think we've built a community is probably what I'd like to say.
It's amazing.
I guess. Look, from my side, I just think what you're achieving in our space is second to none. Quite frankly, we just don't have this. I do think that ultimately you're providing, you are bridging the gap from top grassroots into that academy setting. There's not many people that are giving people the ability to do strength and conditioning. You've got the psychology side. It's sort of like that whole rounded package. I guess my question to you both really is, what's the dream? Like, where are we taking balance? I'm saying where are we taking it? I'm always looking for a bit of work, guys. So, but where are we taking balance? What's the dream? Is the dream to keep doing what you're doing, or is it more kids into the academy environment? I know that you've had some recent wins on that, which must be kind of really rewarding for you guys as well. So that's my kind of question. What's a dream?
I think we just want to create a pathway and give these players or kids, not players, kids, different options. So like we want to have 7s, we want to go all the way through to 18s. And we want to have options for these kids where we can say, okay, you're 16, maybe you've just been let go out of an academy. Here, we'll come join Balance. We've got a program for you. You've got a college program, because we're looking to connect with different people. And I think the biggest thing is, if I'd have come out of West Ham and there was something I could have gone into, which was, we're not a Cat 1, Cat 2 academy, we're a program, but something that's run professional with the right people around it and the care behind it. If I can get boys in, look, it's great, 7s, 8s, 9s, these younger age groups, it's fantastic coaching, but if we can have a program that runs from 7s all the way up to 18s and beyond, where we're supporting players, supporting these young adults, whether that's helping them into college, whether that's helping them into getting their coaching badges or getting back into the academy system when they fall out, because sometimes you fall out of the academy system and it's tough. You're going into these grassroots and like different grassroots teams, and you're bouncing around, and you kind of, parents are chasing that next level, just to give them a platform to say, okay, you've come out of an academy, you might be out for a year, 2 years, but we can make sure we give you that right coaching and provide you with an opportunity maybe to get back into the system, if that's what they want. If they don't, then we can give them an opportunity to go into a college program or into a non-league team. And I think people don't put enough on that. Like I said, my journey was different, but I do think it's better now. There's a lot of younger sort of coaches coming about now, and I've got a lot of similar experiences or similar mindset in the way they deliver messages to players and young people. So even if that's a career in non-league, I think people don't understand how big non-league is now. Non-league's massive. There's some great opportunities in non-league as well. So I think for us, it's just giving different pathways to these young people and just giving them opportunities best way we can through our experiences and through our connections, I guess. Phil, is there anything you want to add on to that?
No, I think we want to grow, but we have to be able to grow sustainably. So we want the environment to always be right for the children, and make sure that we can almost quality control that and not be, it's almost a less is more. We want to be able to, we'd love to be able to affect everyone, but we just want to do a really good job with the kids that we have whilst they are with us. So yeah, we want to, I think Kenzie's being a bit nicer. We'd love balanced all over England, but it has to be right, and the quality has to be right. It's not about growing at any cost. The quality has to be there, and it has to kind of follow the ethos.
Yeah, I mean, look, it takes, in my industry as well, it takes absolute years to build up a reputation, and you can lose that in seconds. And I think, ultimately what you're doing is amazing. And I'm just sort of, really happy for you guys, because I think, what you're doing is what's needed in the game. And, I can't speak highly enough of that. But OC, I think you've got a question, mate.
Yeah, so I think you guys have come a long way, just having that vision 18 months ago to sort of where you are today, just with the programme, with the opportunity that you've provided, and probably more so what you're doing for the community, involving parents and the pieces that you mentioned regarding the welfare, which is quite key. But just wanted to touch on that, just get your thoughts on the setup of the club. So you mentioned that, obviously, I know you both have been in the pro game. I think, was it Alan? You said it was also been in the program. Were you specific about setting up, ensuring that you had people that have been in the game, that have that vast experience? Because, okay, grassroots is full of volunteers, generally full of dads that are coaches. We can't knock them because they're all trying to do their best, right? But just wanted to get the understanding behind that level. Was there like a criteria that needed to be hit for your particular setup? And sorry, just to finish that off, as you're building out and you're going from under 7 to under 18s, would you want that to flow through the club, or would it be like coaching? I don't know if you can get 30, 40 professional people into the club. You know what I mean? So,
yeah, so obviously we started out with the idea of we're bringing in sort of players that have been there, done it, been around it, obviously got their qualified within their coaching badges as well. But yeah, no, that will look different. I think sometimes it won't always be an ex-professional player we bring in as a coach. Of course not. It might be someone who's had different experiences and different knowledge, different to mine, different to Phil. I don't think there's no wrong or right person to bring in again. Like, it don't have to be. Don't get me wrong, we have built off of that, and that was the identity at the start. And we still will bring in ex-players, and we still will bring in coaches like that, but that won't be the only type of coaches we bring in as we grow. It will be different type of coaches that have had different experiences, whether that be within grassroots, whether that be in non-league, whether that be, I don't know, just as a coach themselves. So yeah, I don't think it's set to you have to be an ex-professional football player to coach at Balanced. It's not the case. But that is the sort of foundation we built off to get us going, and we still will look to bring more coaches in like that. I'm currently speaking to a couple now still that are interested in coming over. So it will be a mixed bunch, but I think the biggest thing is as long as they can mentor the kids and they can help the kids develop, that's the priority. We're not gonna. And also we've got a couple coaches in at the moment that are sort of assistant coaches that we've coached, sort of like 16, 17-year-olds that we've coached, and they're sort of just around us all the time, and they're developing, they're learning, because that's something they're interested in doing as well. So as much as we're developing kids as players, we're looking to bring sort of younger coaches in as well and support them and to help them develop. Never as a lead role, because we wouldn't. They'd always be there to support until they got to a stage where they could lead. But yeah,
I think we would we would bring people in that are not professional players. However, they would have to have a professional mindset towards the coach. And so I agree with you that I think I've seen some parents do absolutely fantastic jobs with their teams, and I really admire the way that they run the teams. Some of them beat us quite frequently, and I've got to shake their hands after the game, and I can't be on my me being an ex-professional footballer didn't help us win the game, you know. So I think but they have to. I would say that there's certain like non-negotiables when it comes to how we've set the program up and what we expect from ourselves, exactly what we expect from the children, and the standards are super high. So I think as long as someone has a professional mindset, it'd be like me I wouldn't expect to be excluded from a job I haven't done yet because I haven't done the job. So I don't think it's exclusive. I think it's always good to have people that have been there and done it, but I also think some of the greatest managers were never professional footballers. So it's not it's not like an ex-pros boys club at all.
Brilliant answers, guys. So you guys have grown massively already in 18 months. Credit to you. Kudos. After coming on this podcast, you're going to blow up even more. So credit to us. And no, in all seriousness, guys, obviously you're blowing up. Obviously, as Tom touched on, reputations can grow over years, but good reputations, word of mouth is the best thing in football, and you're going to grow even more so. But with that comes expectations, comes parents, and you've touched on the word cost quite a lot, Phil. You're kind of in tune with the theme of this podcast. It is ball at all costs for a lot of people. So when you get those parents that want their child to join, but you can tell they're not the right kind of maybe parent and child, or just parent. What does that look like, and how do you manage that?
Do you wanna go?
So we're very open. I can't remember who touched on having to be honest and authentic. We don't have any like hidden no-go rules that people don't know about. We're very open that we do canvas both the player and the parent as well, because environment for us is super important. Having players be comfortable to express themselves and not be in fear of what might be coming from the sidelines. And we do have quite strict rules about no coaching from the sidelines at all. So there's only allowed to be praise and encouragement, and there's to be no coaching. To your point, sometimes we do need to reinforce that quite strongly. However, we're big on education. So we have, I'm sure Kenzie will mention, we've had head of academies, Cat 1 academies, come in and speak to all of our parents in the pre-season phase and speak to them about how their actions have an effect on their children and on the environment we're trying to create. If we didn't feel there's not a child that we won't work with, so they may not get into our football team, which is capped at a maximum of 3 or 4 subs. However, we do have sessions that are open to everyone, so we'll never turn a child away. And it's not as if those sessions that are not the team sessions are any less intense, any less thought out. We have high standards throughout, so we'll never turn a child away from the balanced program. They may not get into the balanced team, but we coach every day of the week. So we've got futsal, we've got different sessions in different areas for that purpose, that we don't want it to be exclusive.
Okay, I like that. That's brilliant. And I'm going to do a bundling question, as we've lost Deji here. But it's all about, I guess, the mentor side of it now. Firstly, I guess, how do you find the kids are how responsive are the kids to it at the ages of, you've got like 9s to 12s, I think you said. One question. Also, have you considered, you mentioned the academies coming in to speak to parents. Have you considered mentoring some of the parents on their kind of behavior and their relationships, or is that too deep? And I guess the last question on the whole mentoring side of it, if you can remember all of these, is you talk about going into under 7s. Is that too young, or is it never too young to kind of add that kind of layer to it as well?
So we've just to go off the last question, we wouldn't do the mentoring with like an under 7 or an under 8. It would start with our program. Probably, well, it does start under 9s. We offer it to the kids. 7s and 8s is too young. It's just, they're just playing, isn't they? That's what football is. So we don't do that. But with the mentor side, in terms of how well the kids engage, it's dependent on each kid. But what I would say is, I'd like to think that we've had some real success stories through the mentoring. I've had a kid we've been mentoring last season, and he was struggling at school with confidence and with behaviour, stuff like that. And by the end of the season, I'm speaking to his mum, and his mum's speaking about how he's a different kid. He's succeeded in school. He's so much more confident. He's winning this award and winning that award. And she ain't talking to me about the minutes he's playing on the weekend or about how well he's developed at football. She's talking about, you've changed my son, because now he's going into school, everyday life, and he's changed, and he's really working. He's worked on everything you've spoke to him about. And I think that type of reward for me, and I say this to Phil all the time, is as big as or bigger than that signing into an academy. Because that's what we're here for. Again, like I say, developing across all 4 pillars. And we do, not so much this season, but we still would if it was needed. But last season, we did a lot of conversations with player and parent with the mentoring, sort of about their expectations when they did. We just had, it was sort of 25, 30-minute conversation sometimes, just on sort of we'd speak to the parent about, I don't know, just different things. I'm sort of not going to go into detail, but we'd speak to the parents about different things and different things they'd been going through with their kid, certain issues they might be coming up with, or whether it's be to do with football, outside of football. And I think what people don't realize is, well, they probably do, but us as coaches, these kids, they look up to us, and every word you say to them, they take in and they take to heart. So the message you give them kids on the weekend or during the week, it might not mean anything to you, or you might just say it not really thinking about it, but these kids take it in, and what you say is gospel to them. Well, for us, we're for it, and if I say certain things to these kids, they're going to take it on board. So we have to be very mindful. We have to make sure that we're giving these kids the right messages, and that's why it's so important that we bring in the right people when we are coaching these kids, because we want the right message to be delivered to these kids.
With some of the mentoring as well, on how receptive they are to the mentoring, the kids come, it's amazing. Some of the ones that I would think are super receptive to it in the moment, you might not see almost the fruit of that labor come out. I don't know, we might have spoken about, I don't know, how do we react to adversity? And they don't get a foul in the first minute and they lose their mind. And I'm thinking, but we've just had a conversation about that last night. But one thing that sticks with me is I didn't hear anything that a school teacher said to me, a football coach said to me, potentially maybe even my parents said to me, until I kind of unpacked everything once I was 25. So I don't think necessarily that the impact that we're having, we always see right now. But I believe there does come a time that the very things that I used to, I would say, hate my under 18 football manager for, I've gone and found him again when I was 25 and said, by the way, everything you said was bang on and right. I just wasn't ready to accept it when I was 17 years old. So some of the mentoring is not even necessarily for this year or next year or the year after, but there does come, and I say that to them, there's going to come a time, hopefully, that you come back to me and say, Phil and Kenza, we know your standards were high. I always say it's our job, our entire job as a coach is to ask you to more from you. That's my entire job, is to ask more of you. And it's not always nice to do, but that's our job, is to ask you, whatever you do, I'm going to ask you to do more. Otherwise, I think you've capped your potential, and I don't believe that. So, yeah.
Amazing. So I know, Tom, you've got a question, but Phil, I just want to say you're going to live rent-free, and yourself, Kenza, and a lot of grown adults' head for the rest of their lives, because that point you made about not always for the here and now, my mum's words, pearls of wisdom, live with me at my grand old age now. And every time I hear somebody say something like, we was, my mum used to say, we were, you were, I was, and so forth and so on. All of these things and things that you didn't understand, you weren't ready to receive, like you said. They stick with you. And then I often find myself with my children repeating the stuff my mum said to me, because now it makes sense. Yeah. Trying to get my grown children to understand that now, and then thinking to myself, do you know what? They will when their children are grown. So similar, I know we're not talking about our own kids here, but you're right about mentorship and how it works. So some of it's for the here and now, some of it's for later on in life, if it can't be received and understood now. Sorry, Tom.
No, not a problem, mate. Now, look, I've got a little bundle, last two questions from me for both of you, because otherwise we'd be worried about sleep deprivation. I know you both need your beauty sleep. So, advice to your younger self, if you started all over again, what advice would you give yourself? And then the hard one that I'm going to chuck in on top of that would be, what's the one thing that you would change about academy football?
These are supposed to be your friends, Tom.
One thing I'd change about academy football is the politics. I can say that straight out. I think that is the higher up the ladder you go, the politics, people don't know about it until you've been in it and you've experienced it. And I don't want to go too deep into that, but politics, I think it should be down to just, if you're the best player in your position, you should get your opportunity. Not, I don't know, whatever, who your agent is or who your parents are, I guess. I think that would be a big thing for me. That's what stands out to me the most. And in terms of what I'd say to myself, I think looking back now, just being more self-assured and being more confident in that environment. Like I say, it's an intense environment, it's a hard environment, and I think I wasn't, as Phil said he was, I don't think I was authentically myself. I feel like I held back. I just done what I had to do to be part of that academy and to sort of along that journey, which I think you have to be mindful. You do have to fall in place sometimes, but I feel like I said, I didn't say enough, didn't speak up in certain moments. Looking back now, I feel like I wish I did speak up more when I was at West Ham, and didn't let it bypass me a little bit, I think I would say. I didn't realise what I had until it was gone, I guess. I think when you're in it for such a long time and you're in that environment, it just feels like, I'm going to be a professional football player. I've been at West Ham since I was 10. I'm going to play for West Ham's first team. Like, that's just the standard journey. That's just what's going to happen for me, especially when you've been in there for so long. So, and what I realise is the moment you do let your foot off the pedal, it can be gone straight away, especially in them later, like them older years, sort of 17, 18, 19, when it gets difficult because a lot of different doors open up. I think the moment you lose sight of your goal, it can be taken away very, very quickly, whether it's because an injury, whether it's because of, like I said, politics, or whether it's because of whatever reason, whether you didn't train hard enough, whatever the reasons are. But yeah, I think I potentially got a bit too comfortable and just sort of expected it to eventually happen. And nothing's a given. No, I wish I took it and pushed a little bit more.
No, I love that, mate. I love the honesty. And Phil, look, I mean, same question, but I guess like slightly, keeping on that theme, is just to add in there, like you got bought, you played for your country. They're like off the charts in terms of them kind of accolades. I would say, what are the things that you would, that one thing that you would change? And if you had that, hindsight moment, what is the one thing that you're going to say back to young Phil? And obviously you were saying, Roberts on the back of the shirt. What would that moment be where you'd say, what would I tell myself?
Probably the same thing, but kind of double-sided. One, I would tell myself, I wish I would have understood. I was playing football the game and not playing football the business. So for me, I lived Saturday to Saturday for about 12 years. And by that, I mean, like, if I had won and played well, I was on top of the world. And if I had lost on a Saturday, it would mean almost too much. What we've spoken about, it just mean too much. And I was too volatile then to be able to perform consistently over a season, let alone over thinking I was going to have 15 seasons of playing at a high level. So I wish I would have seen it more as a career rather than a game. I think that switch took too long. I only kind of flipped that switch too late of, actually, I've got to project what does this look like over 15 years, not like, what would I say? I think that my productivity, I live life on a fine edge of my productivity having to be at least a 9 out of 10, because the other bits that came with me, you would only suffer them if I scored 2 goals a game. That's how I and I enjoyed living on that edge, but that's not a productive I think my dad used to say that people will only tolerate you as long as you're productive, and you want people to want you there, even if you're unproductive. The second that I was unproductive, you would want me out of the club. And I get that somewhat. I do understand that now. But that's who I was to a certain degree. So I wish I understood that a bit more when I was younger.
Well, look, thank you, lads. I appreciate that. OC, Andrew, you got any?
No, I mean, I've got loads of questions, Tom, but like you say, sleep deprivation is a real thing, and we need to let the guys go. But I do have some quick fire questions. One for the banter, though. You two were born, this balance was born out of a rivalry, because you're a centre forward from what I can gather, Phil, and Kenzie, you said you're a defender. So you came up and butted heads. Who won most of those battles?
You
can tell me when you come back on. But I don't want to break up balance. I don't want to do it. So you can come up with a joint answer.
To be fair, I think at the time Arsenal and West Ham were, in my opinion, that was when Chelsea just come with the money as well. So Arsenal and West Ham were the two top teams at that time. We weren't even allowed to play each other. So we went 4 years without not even being allowed to play each other, because the teams were poaching each other's players. So I didn't play Arsenal in my first 3 years at West Ham because we weren't allowed. So when we did play each other, you can imagine the intensity of that game and how serious it was, because we went such a long time not allowed to play each other. When it was like everyone's out there to be. It was
almost a blur. I don't remember those games. I don't remember those games very well. I remember the biggest compliment I'll give Kenzer is he's one of the few people that haven't allowed me to get into their head through my antics. So I don't actually. I used to worry more, especially with West Ham, about getting a rise out of people more so than the result. That's how crazy it was back then in terms of our rivalry.
I love this. We need to get you guys back on. Literally, this conversation here, we could expand on this for a whole episode, but I love that. So also, guys, you need to give us all your handles so people know where to find you. I know you're in a specific area, but I think everybody who's in that area, if they can get a piece of you, a little bit, just the mentorship and the balanced nature of everything you do, I think it'll be great. So if you can share your socials, your websites, everything, that'll be great.
Yeah, so Instagram, we are just Balanced FC. You'll be able to see us, Balanced_FC. And I think, obviously, I've got my personal page, Coach Kenzer. Phil's got his page and his mindset page as well, which you'll go through. Where we're coaching at the minute, we're over at Whittam, Malden, and we've actually opened up a ball mastery school in Dagenham, in Parslow, more recently, because that's local to Phil as well, so you ain't got to travel an hour to come and coach.
I've heard about this. I've heard it's making sense now. I've heard about this. Okay, good things I've heard.
Hopefully.
No, it is real good things. I'm PJ. Balanced FC is one of, and then I've got the Inner Game with PJ, which is my mindset page, because that's super important to me. But as well from us, thank you guys. We've really enjoyed the conversation. We'll be speaking about this all week. Kenzo and I. Well, it's been really good.
Good.
You've been legends, and I know that Andrew's probably going to say this, but we need your help to get other people on this page, or on this pod, should I say. You've got some great connections. I know we've got a mutual friend, Kenzer. I think with Judgy's background, he's gone through every kind of adversity you can probably, when he started, the clubs that he's played for, Ipswich, injuries, he's played for his country. So, obviously that can be a combined effort there, but if there's anyone else that you think that we should, we'd love you to sort of make some names and some suggestions. And we're all passionate about this page. We're all doing this because we want to get conversations going. And I'm lucky enough to have been asked to be part of this following my one. So would love to see if you guys could help us. Like I said, this has been brilliant tonight. So thank you so much.
No problem. Yeah, we've got a few. Definitely put a few people over. No problem.
Perfect.
Tom, I couldn't say any better. So guys, listen, if you're still locked on at an hour 40, I think you've had a really insightful, really good show with us. So we urge you to hit that subscribe button, smash a like. These guys have given up their time and giving you great insight, but not just insight and knowledge. They've really spoken from the heart. They've really shared, and that takes a lot for grown men to share, which literally is PTSD, Phil. I'm gonna stand by that. It is literally PTSD, some of what I'm hearing. And I'm not professionally trained, but I believe that's what I'm hearing. So I think it does take a lot, and I think we've given you guys an absolutely humdinger of a show today. So please hit that like, that subscribe, go and like their pages, go and follow them as well, because it's important, and leave a review. And I want to hear from you in the comments. And if you're listening on the audio feed, please leave a review, hit that like button. It's very, very important. I've had fun. I've learned a lot. I think there's been healing in the room today as well. I think there's been a lot of healing, and I'm big on that as well. So guys, listen, we've been Ball at All Costs. They've been Balanced. They've been Coach Kenzer, and they've been PJ Mentoring. Is that right?
The inner game with PJ.
And the inner game with PJ. I'll get there. This is no auto cue here, guys. No auto cue. But we've had fun, and it's Ball at All Costs, and we're out.